Excellent. Your Excellencies, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 10th Annual Responsible Capitalism Award, promoted by First Magazine. Before we begin this evening's award ceremony, I think it would be appropriate just to remember that last year a very special award was given to the first chairman of the judges, a truly remarkable international figure, Lord Dahrendorf, Ralph Dahrendorf. And without Ralph Dahrendorf, we would not be here tonight. Sadly, he is not. He died in June, and many of us remembered him at a memorial service in St. Margaret's, Westminster, just 3 weeks ago. Could I just ask you to pause for a moment of silence to remember a truly great international figure? Thank you very much. Now, you are all most welcome. Many of you have been here before. Some of you have not. This is a first for first, because in the past we have had members of Her Majesty's government. We have had Her Royal Highness the Princess Royal, the Archbishop of Canterbury, General Sir Mike Jackson, the Lord Chief Justice, who liked us so much that when Ralph Dahrendorf felt that he wanted to hand on the torch as chairman of the judges, he agreed to take it up. And Lord Wolf of Barnes is here tonight. And our guest of honour is not a member of the government, yet. But we thought, in the interests of British democracy, it was as well for you to have a look at somebody who might just conceivably occupy a position of reasonable authority at some stage. And now I'd like to ask Lord Wolf, Chairman of the Judges, if he would say a little bit about this year's awards and awards winners. Lord Wolf.
Your Excellencies, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, if there was ever a need for an award for responsible capitalism, which I believe there always has been, surely at the present time that need is as great as it's ever been. And although that may be true of the situation generally around the world, I'm very glad to say all corners of the globe produced candidates for the award this year. They were an astonishingly high caliber of persons who had been nominated. And we had great difficulty in identifying who should be the award winner of our main prize for responsible capitalism. And I'm very glad to tell you that the person we chose, because his record in the areas we are concerned with of responsible capitalism was absolutely outstanding, is the chief executive of GlaxoSmithKline, and Andrew Whitty. That is a remarkable company who not only makes things from which we all benefit in our health, but it has ensured that in different parts of the world, where otherwise drugs would not be available, which could bring relief where it's very sorely needed, they are available because of the very enlightened policy of that company. So I say with great pleasure, we have got a really responsible capitalist who here among us who deserves the award. Now, what has become apparent to the judges is that there comes times when a person makes a great fortune and then ceases to be active as a capitalist. But what they become instead is a philanthropist. And we feel that that also should be recognized. So this year we are giving an award to Mr. Santa. He unfortunately won't be here present, but he's ably represented. You will hear from his representative. And he, in turn, having made a great fortune in the power industry, has then created a foundation that has helped people, again, in different parts of the world. And thirdly, we've got a prize this year because there can be a person who does something in a remarkably difficult situation. And we have got, I haven't actually met him yet, but we've got Mr. Kaja here tonight from Afghanistan. And he has done three things in that troubled country. One is he built up a very big business of cell telephones. Secondly, he introduced a very novel idea, which is a mobile bank catering to people who just need very small loans, where those loans can make a real difference. And thirdly, he has established soup kitchens, which we, I'm afraid, know in this country because they're needed in different parts of the country, and that is also a great achievement. So we welcome him. I'm very glad to know that he's here with his family, and we are very proud to have him with us. So thank you very much. I'll now hand over to our guest of honor, who needs no introduction by me, to make the awards and say a few words to us.
Well, Lord Wolf, Patrick, thank you very much for asking me to do this. I'm honoured to be in such a distinguished company, and honoured that Patrick invited me into his house in this way. I'm also honoured that I'm the first member of the opposition to be asked to present these awards. So this is not a tradition. I hope you continue next year. But for 10 years, you have recognised the contribution of people who've been very successful, outstandingly successful in their business career, who've also understood that they have obligations to the wider community. And I too pay tribute to the first panel, chairman of your panel of judges, Lord Dahrendorf. I think the most remarkable thing about Ralph Dahrendorf is that he was a member of the German Parliament and the British Parliament in his own lifetime. And I'm not sure I can think of anyone else who achieved that pretty unique double. And I remember as a student reading many of the very intelligent works that he wrote on the Constitution and on Europe, and so I too pay tribute to him. As Lord Wolf says, this wouldn't be the 12-month period in the history of the world where you would think this is the moment to start handing out responsible capitalism awards. We've had the excesses of the financial sector laid before us. We've had these great scandals like the Madoff scandal. Two of the most successful plays in London at the moment are about financial scandals, Enron and The Power of Yes. You would have thought this is not the 12-month period in which to make this award, but actually I would say it is precisely the moment to champion the virtues of responsible capitalism and to bring to people's attention the success of those who've understood that running a successful company and making a profit is not somehow in contradiction with also being a part of your community and understanding your social obligations, and the winners tonight very much have demonstrated that. I think it's a moment for people who believe in free markets, who believe in capitalism, to use that word, to actually stand up and champion some of its virtues and how it can live and sit side by side with responsible social behaviour. And the people, as I say, who've won this award very much have been able to do that. One of the being in opposition is a miserable existence, I would just say. And I've now done this job for almost 5 years, which is one of the longer periods that someone has done this job, although the last successful Conservative Shadow Chancellor is standing in front of me. In the sense of the last person who actually turned the shadow job into the real job. and I think he did it for 5 years as well. But one of the opportunities of being in opposition, if you put it like that, is you do get around a lot more probably than you do as a minister, and you're less encumbered by all the advice and the department paraphernalia and so on. And I, as a result, in the space of 5 years, have visited probably all the major companies in the country, spoken to most of the chief executives. Indeed, I was talking to Andrew, one of the winners of tonight's awards, just about an hour ago, as it happens, by coincidence. And one of the things I've learned is that the people who are the most successful and the companies that are the most successful are also the ones with the best social policies, the best engagement with their local community. They treat their workforce the most fairly and often have the most motivated workforces. And this is not a coincidence. It is actually the case, in my experience, that companies that understand their broader obligations, companies that are responsible capitalist organizations, are also the most successful capitalist organizations and make the greatest returns. And I think there is an essential truth in that. So, as I say, I'm delighted and honoured to be asked to present these awards. I think they are well deserved. I congratulate Rupert and the team at First Magazine for staging all of this, and I congratulate all who've been involved. And let's celebrate success. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much indeed. Now, Rupert will hand over the awards for George Osborne to present. And here is the first one to Mr. Andrew Whitty, who, through his sensitive and positive leadership of a great international company, has brought the real prospect of better health by a wider sharing of the advances of modern science to people in all parts of the world.
Thank you very much.
Next award, the Special Award for Philanthropy, awarded to Mr. Roger Sant, who throughout his business career has given generously to a whole range of worthwhile causes and endeavours, so ensuring the fruits of his business success would be shared among many. And Sir David Manning, former British ambassador in Washington, is here because Mr. Sant cannot be here tonight. And the third special award to Mr. Karim Kojar, who has set an inspirational example in seeking to bring modern technology, new opportunities and prosperity to the war-torn country of Afghanistan. Before I thank our guest of honour, I'm going to ask each of the three award winners if they'd like to say a few words to us. Mr. Andrew Whitty.
Patrick, Lord Wolfe, George, thank you very much indeed. First Magazine, thank you, Rupert, for arranging this evening and the honour of giving me this award tonight. I'm very much delighted to be able to accept this on behalf of all of my colleagues at GlaxoSmithKline, who truly put the patient first in everything they do and who genuinely believe that their role is to identify solutions for intractable healthcare problems for people all around the world, not just those in the rich countries. And that's a mission which really gets all of them up in the morning, and it brings them all to work, and it makes them strive against sometimes what appear to be impossible odds. And if I tell you that of every 10,000 new drug molecules that we synthesize, only one makes it to the marketplace, it gives you some notion of the degree of failure that my colleagues deal with in the mission they try and achieve. I'm very proud of what they've achieved, and I'm delighted that over the last couple of years we've been able to really challenge and step up what we do for those populations who live in particularly the developing world. You may not be aware that around 2/3 of global healthcare challenge exists in Africa. And Africa consumes less than 3% of the world's healthcare resources. So you can see immediately the kind of imbalance. Of the 15 neglected tropical diseases, which by the way are 95% expressed in Africa, there's been no successful treatment discovered in the last 50 years. These are real challenges that we have to deal with, and the only way we're going to do that is to adopt a different approach. And so I'm very proud of what we've tried to begin at GlaxoSmithKline, which is to recognize that you can indeed be a very successful company. You can indeed generate a very fair return for shareholders, but at the same time, you can be open-minded about your business model, you can be flexible about your intellectual property approach, and you can engage yourself in a comprehensive solution to a challenge and not simply sit on the sidelines and say, well, we're responsible for drug development, but nothing will ever happen because there's no good distribution system. We need to be part of finding a total solution. And that's what we've been trying to do. I would tell you that of the 1 billion doses of vaccines that we manufacture this year, 800 million will go to the least developed countries in the world. And I think that's a tremendous contribution to a fundamental improvement in the quality of human health in those marketplaces. So on behalf of everybody at GSK, I say thank you. I will tell you this is not the most special prize I've been awarded this year. It's a very special prize, but the most special prize I saw this year was in July when I was in Kizumi, which is a very small village in Kenya, in the hill areas, malaria endemic field, and I had the opportunity to meet the first girl, little baby, who'd been vaccinated with the new malaria vaccine. And I think when you see the opportunities which are coming, and you see the hospitals full of people, babies, febrile with malaria, many of whom won't survive, and you see now the chances that we're able to bring, if that vaccine succeeds, which I believe it will, the opportunity for us to make a once and for all huge change for those populations, those economies, is enormous. The lesson is that we can do that and strike a balance with our shareholders, and as a result, do good for many, many societies around the world. So with that, I say thank you very much for this award. It means a lot to me. It means more to my employees. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think the judges were right. Could I now ask Sir David Manning, former British ambassador in Washington and a close personal friend of Roger Sant, if he would like to say a few words.
Well, Sir Patrick, thank you very much. I should begin by saying that Roger Sant greatly regrets that he's unable to be here tonight to accept the award in person, but I am both honoured and touched that he's asked me to do that on his behalf. And in a moment, I'm going to read the acceptance speech that Roger has prepared. But before I do so, I want to pay my own personal tribute to him and to his wife, Vicky, because I quickly discovered while I was British ambassador in Washington that Roger and Vicky are a formidable combined force for good. Their philanthropy in support of many causes and their sense of social responsibility is really quite extraordinary. This generosity is the more remarkable for the low-key and unassuming style that is the Sant trademark. I've no doubt that first is honouring someone really exceptional in Roger, someone who with Vicky really does give capitalism a good name. And now let me read Roger's remarks to you. I'm sorry that my wife Vicky and I couldn't be with you tonight to thank you for this honour. I want to thank our friend Sir David Manning for agreeing to accept it on my behalf, and Sir Patrick Cormack, first Chairman Rupert Goodman, and the members of the award advisory panel. In 1981, I co-founded the AES Corporation, an electricity generation company that was based on the deregulation of electricity markets. When we first started the company, we didn't have a clearly defined corporate culture, but we did have an idea of the importance of incorporating social benefit as an integral part of doing business. In one early company-wide memo, I wrote, "We want every project in which we're involved to make a positive contribution to society through lower costs to our customers, higher quality products, increased employment, a cleaner environment, and other similar benefits. And while a variation of this would eventually become our definition of social responsibility, I was interested in seeing it in practice. One of my favorite examples, back around 1988, when we were building a 180 megawatt coal-fired power plant on the Thames River in Connecticut, a woman named Cheryl Sturgis had the idea to support CARE in planting 52 million trees in Guatemala to sequester the plant's lifetime emissions of carbon dioxide. I had been concerned that as the founder of a company that generated electricity partly from the combustion of coal, we had a collective responsibility to pay attention to the issue of climate change. Now, we grew to be a large company. AES is a Fortune 500 company. It's got $35 billion or so in assets around the world and revenues of more than $15 billion each year. And it employs around 25,000 people in 29 countries. But back then, we were trying to build the Thames plant, and we were tiny. We weren't public. We were a little more than a startup company. So it wasn't as though we felt like we were leading global capital markets. In fact, the money it cost to plant the trees was a lot of money to us in those days. But we did it. It gave us a chance to test a hypothesis that we had in forming the company, that there didn't have to be a conflict between environmental and economic outcomes. And we were right. There have been countless examples since, but at the time we weren't sure. But I can say with confidence that I reject absolutely the assertion that profits are threatened by responsible behavior. If AES is any example, it's simply not true. In fact, the opposite is true. No company can survive without a dedication to social responsibility. Thank you for this enormous honor.
Thank you very much. Well, Mr. Sant is not here because he's gathering his family around him for Thanksgiving, which seems highly appropriate. But our third winner has gathered his family around him and brought them here. And that is much appreciated. Mr. Karim Kosher.
Your Excellencies, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, friends, I'm deeply honored to be here with you tonight to accept First Magazine's Award for Responsible Capitalism, Special Award for Outstanding Achievement in the Face of Adversity. I guess you could say working in Afghanistan is adverse. I'm particularly grateful to Lord Wolf, the Chairman of the Judges, Sir Patrick, and Rupert Goodman, Chairman of First, and his staff. This is personally a very important moment for me, particularly as I'm able to share this with my family who have come from around the world and who have sacrificed to allow me to pursue my dreams. This award should really go to them and the 1,100 people who have helped make Roshan, the telephone company that I run, such a success and a catalyst for growth in Afghanistan. The events of September 11th changed our lives. It led to irreversible changes in the world, such as long security checks at airports. The image we have of Afghanistan is what we see on the BBC. Body bags being flown home, drugs, war, and corruption. Many people would say that Afghanistan is a land of terrorists and ask, should we throw away lives and money there? However, all of us know the answers are not that simple. The Afghanistan, which most people see, is not the Afghanistan I have been a part of over the last 7 years. Afghans have the same aspirations and dreams we all have. They want to send their kids to school and live in peace. This is a critical time for the people of Afghanistan. And your acknowledgement and support reinforces the fact that our efforts can play an instrumental role in the transformation of a society and its people. Do not give up that support. The notion of responsible business was instilled in me at a very young age. I spent the early years of my life in a country where I was discriminated against because of the color of my skin, and when my family lost all their money due to economic and political upheaval. As a young boy, I sold dishes on the street to feed my family. It was then that somebody gave me a break. Without that help, we would have starved. It was during these difficult times I learned that money is not the measure of success. In my eyes, character, ethics, treating people with respect, and the ability to give back to those who are less fortunate. Those are what constitute success. One thing I've learned in my life is that you are only as strong as the community you serve. This has resonated with me. Today, this is our guiding principle in building Roshan, which means light and hope. Roshan is part of the Aga Khan Development Network, a non-profit, non-denominational aid agency which operates in some of the world's most challenging countries. As part of the AKDN, Roshan is focused on development and an ethical approach to business. Transparency and corporate social responsibility is ingrained in our DNA. 6 years ago, fewer than 100,000 people had access to communications. The rest had to walk hundreds of miles to Pakistan, Iran, or other neighboring countries just to make a phone call. Today, we have built a nationwide telecommunications network to fulfill a basic need, the need to talk and not fight. Now we touch close to 3.5 million Afghans in 225 cities and towns, reaching over 60% of the population. We employ 1,100 people, of which 90% are Afghans, and have created over 30,000 jobs indirectly. 20% of our staff are women. Many of our employees are under the age of 25 with high school education at best, and they are often sole breadwinners for their families, supporting on average 13 people legitimately. Our employees are the future leaders of Afghanistan. This is why we focus on empowering them to reach their full potential and cultivating leadership within the company. In a very challenging country, the second most corrupt, as we've seen this week, we've grown our business with integrity. We contribute approximately 6% of the Afghan government's overall domestic revenue, and are the country's largest investor with over $420 million invested to date. Roshan leads by example. Roshan is the largest corporate social responsibility program in the country, called Roshan Community. Roshan Community is supporting a wide range of programs, including building schools, the One Laptop Per Child program, playgrounds, wells, helping women set up their own businesses, Cisco Net Academy's program to build IT skills, particularly for women, sponsoring soup kitchens, M-Pesa, the mobile money product, and supporting a state-of-the-art telemedicine project. Our business, as well as all the programs we support, reflects our philosophy in creating an enabling environment for the country, our staff, and the people of Afghanistan. By honoring me with this award, you're really honoring the dedicated people at Roshan and at the AKDN, whose dedication, teamwork, and leadership has made our success possible, and who are a testament that responsible business, even in the most corrupt and volatile countries, is possible. Tonight, I share this award with all of them. I would like to end with a quote from one of my favorite poets and writers, Khalil Gibran. You give but little when you give of your possessions. It is when you give of yourself that you truly give. Thank you very much for honoring me.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you for those inspirational words. My only question is, why didn't you run for president? As we bring this evening's formal part to a close, could I thank all three of our winners for all that they have done and for what they have said, and wish them continued success in their endeavours. Now, Rupert Goodman was very anxious that we should mark this the 10th award ceremony with a permanent publication. And we have here a book, Responsible Capitalism, Essays on Morality, Ethics, and Business. Modesty forbids either Rupert or my saying who edited it, but it is, we hope, a stimulating read. There is a fascinating article based on the writings of Lord Darendorf. We have a most interesting interview with the Archbishop of Canterbury, and every one of you, as you leave tonight, will be given a copy of this book. We hope that you will enjoy it, that you'll profit from it, not by selling it, and that you will, but that you will encourage others to buy it when it goes on sale. We hope that it will be a suitable reminder of what we think is a splendid initiative. And I'd like George Osborne to accept this as a gift of thanks for coming. He's a very remarkable young politician, and I can say young politician because when I entered the House, he wasn't even born. And that is very remarkable that in a few months' time, he could well be a very important figure in all of our lives. We mustn't stray too far over the boundary of the impartiality that has marked our first awards, but I think I can wish him every personal good fortune on behalf of us all. And George, would you be kind enough to accept this book?
I'm not going to say no now.
Thank you very, very much indeed. And I thought it would be appropriate to conclude with one sentence from that book, from the Ralph Darendorf contribution. And it is this, and he was writing in the programme in the year 2000, the first year of the awards, when of course the awards were presented by the Right Honourable Gordon Brown. And he said this: "The prize for responsible capitalism recognises outstanding examples of business achievement which transcend the tangible and the immediate, and thereby contribute not just to wealth creation, but to human welfare." What a fitting text for this evening, and one which all our winners tonight have lived up to in a very inspiring way. Thank you all very, very much for coming.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm very honoured.
Thank you, George. Thank you for coming.
Great. How are you?
I'm very well, yeah.